Hello and welcome to my director review for Taika Waititi. This was in preparation for the release of Thor Love and Thunder this Friday. So I decided to watch all of Taika Waititi's feature-length films. So that includes Eagle vs. Shark from 2007, Boy from 2010, What We Do in the Shadows from 2014. I believe the next one is Hunt for the Wilderpeople from 2016. Then you've got Thor Ragnarok 2017, and one that I have seen before but didn't rewatch for this video, but I'll talk about it briefly, is Jojo Rabbit from 2019. That's his Oscar-winning film. So let's get it started with Eagle vs. Shark. Lily, a socially awkward fast food waitress, meets Jared, an equally oddball video game clerk at a costume party. She flips over him, even though he is not exactly the nicest guy around, and the pair begin a strange relationship. Gearing up for his ultimate revenge against a high school bully, Jared dumps Lily, but she digs her heels in and refuses to give up the fight. This is available for streaming on Sundance and AMC Plus in Canada, and available for rent or purchase in the US. This was a decent directorial debut from Taika Waititi. It gave off Fast Times at Ridgemont High vibes, especially with the fast food restaurant scenes and the awkward, nerdy main characters. I felt as though Jared was a mix of Moss with his mannerisms and look, and Roy with his anger issues and need to seem cool from the IT crowd. Lily was a bit too thirsty for Jared and seemed to love him despite his character flaws. Despite his significant flaws, you feel sympathy for Jared as he deals with a lack of fatherly approval, although not entirely, since he is a liar and acts immature for his age. He's supposed to be 28, and he acts like he's more like a teenager. I felt they tied it up quite well at the end, especially with the beautiful animation of the two apples. They have that one with the rotten core representing Jared, who needs someone like Lily to help him grow, while the other is all used up, symbolizing Lily, who constantly gets beaten down by life, and yet she keeps going on. This wasn't as funny as some of Taika Waititi's other films, but it still blends comedy, romance, and drama quite well considering it's his feature debut. I rated this movie a 3.5 out of 5. Now let's move on to Boy from 2010. Boy, an 11-year-old child and devout Michael Jackson fan who lives on the east coast of New Zealand in 1984, gets a chance to know his absentee criminal father who has returned to find a bag of money he buried years ago. This is available for streaming on Prime, Hoopla, Sundance, Hollywood Suite, Plex, and Canopy in Canada. And it is available for streaming on Fubo, Showtime, AMC Plus, Hoopla, Vudu, and Canopy in the US. A lot of streaming for this movie, although not all are easily accessible. This movie has dry humor, as most New Zealand comedies would, although most of Taika's films don't have as much dry humor as this one. I felt this was actually quite a bit more dramatic than a lot of other Taika Waititi films, with very few laughs during the 80-minute runtime. I did enjoy when it changed the art style to drawings or during sequences when Boy was daydreaming. My issue with this film lies in a mundane plot that you've probably seen done in quite a few other films, and some of the dialogue aging a bit poorly. But that thriller-style haka at the end was chef's kiss. It was amazing. I would say just search online for that, because that was really fun to see. I rated this a 3 out of 5, placing it second in my current ranking. Now let's move on to his third film, What We Do in the Shadows from 2014. Vampire housemates try to cope with the complexities of modern life and show a newly turned hipster some of the perks of being undead. This is available for streaming on Hollywood Suite in Canada and on Canopy in both Canada and the US. The first time I watched this film, probably back in 2017, or I believe 2018, I felt it was a unique and bizarre experience that was actually my introduction to Taika Waititi as a filmmaker. And now that I've seen the spin-off TV show on FX, I decided I should revisit the film and see how I felt about it after so many years. Upon rewatch, I actually feel the show is much better. Don't get me wrong, this is still pretty good, but the show is quite a bit funnier and expands on the world that this film began, although I know there is a short film prior to this, but you get what I mean. The show, I think the reason why it's funnier is because it has the time to really delve into it. But even from the first episode, I could tell there's a difference, and I really enjoyed the character of Guillermo as this familiar. We don't see as much of the familiars in this movie as we do in the show, so I really like that we get kind of a outside perspective into this world from somebody who is just like us. So that's why I think that show is so much better than the movie is, even though the movie is still pretty good. I dropped my rating down from a 4 out of 5 to a 3.5 out of 5, and right now that would place it at number 1. Now let's move on to Hunt for the Wilderpeople from 2016. A boy and his foster father become the subjects of a manhunt after they get stranded in the New Zealand wilderness. I can't say much more because it would be a bit of a spoiler. This is available for streaming on Netflix, Starz, Hoopla, and Tubi in Canada, and it is available for streaming on Netflix, Fubo, Roku Channel, Hoopla, Tubi, Canopy, Crackle, and Pluto TV in the United States. I believe this film began the rise of Taika Waititi. He was still a relatively small director when this came out, but now after he did this, he did Thor Ragnarok. Now he's done Star Wars episode. Where were we? Okay, he had done, after this film, he did Thor film, a Marvel film, and then he did The Mandalorian. Then he did, now he's doing another Star Wars movie and another Thor movie. So he's now gotten this meteoric rise, especially also, and won an Oscar. But it's all started with this movie. It's got so much beautiful cinematography throughout its runtime, and it's not a long film. It's only about 100 minutes, so an hour and 40 minutes, and it's showing the majestical locations in New Zealand.
Pretty majestical, eh?
I don't think that's a word.
Majestical, sure it is.
Nah, it's not real.
What would you know?
It's majestic.
Well, that doesn't sound very special. Majestical's way better.
All of the characters were well acted. I especially enjoyed the chemistry between Sam Neill and Julian Dennison. They both did really good jobs, really great jobs. And this is, I think, one of the earlier roles of Julian Dennison, and he's done fairly well, depending on the role, depending on the film. He's done well, and it all depends on the writing. It all depends on the writing, and that's the big thing with any actor, especially child actors, is you have to have good writing. And Taika Waititi is an amazing writer. Rhys Darby was so funny as this character, Psycho Sam. I really enjoyed his scenes, and he was in it just the right amount of time. If he was in it a bit more, I think it would have been too much. The comedic moments didn't outshine or diminish from the dramatic moments, which Taika Waititi generally nails, but it's very hard to do, so you have to be commending him for doing this so frequently and doing this so well constantly. Overall, I feel as though this is one of Taika's best works, at least up until this point. We'll see about later on. I rated this a 4.5 out of 5, placing it at number 1. Now let's move on to the Marvel film, Thor Ragnarok from 2017. Imprisoned on the other side of the universe, the mighty Thor finds himself in a deadly gladiatorial contest that pits him against the Hulk. his former ally and fellow Avenger. Thor's quest for survival leads him in a race against time to prevent the all-powerful Hela from destroying his home world and the Asgardian civilization. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus in both Canada and the United States. As I said when I first saw this movie, Taika Waititi reinvented and reinvigorated Thor as a franchise, as a character, and Chris Hemsworth as an actor. He did a great job of balancing the dramatic and comedic elements, although with this viewing, I felt as though some of the comedy didn't land as well as the first or second viewing. This was probably the fourth time I saw the movie, the third with actual dialogue, since one of the viewings I watched it with commentary, which I would recommend checking out because it's not like any other commentary track. You have Taika with his daughter, so you know it's just as if you were watching the film with him in the room with you. But this was my first time seeing it or any other film on Disney Plus in the IMAX expanded ratio at home. While this really helped immerse me into the action scenes, when it changed ratios, it was a bit distracting, although nowhere near as bad as Transformers The Last Night, and I do hope more films use their IMAX expanded ratio for the home distribution, because it's disappointing when you go to see such a beautiful presentation in theaters and then you're only able to watch it in widescreen at home. Like with last year's Dune, I saw that in IMAX and it was gorgeous, and then I see it at home and it's in this widescreen thing. At least try for full screen. Dune is one of those movies that I'm going to have to go see again in IMAX when I get the chance. And a lot of films filmed in IMAX, I have to go and see it properly in IMAX when they re-release it. Getting back to this film, Korg as a character is an absolute gem. And his line about Thor's hammer pulling him off the ground never fails to get a laugh out of me, and probably never will fail to get a laugh out of me.
Oh my god, hammer pulled you off the ground.
I can even see how Valkyrie as a character has grown from her introduction in this film to where we see her in Avengers Endgame, and I'm very excited to see more of her growth, as well as all the other characters return in Thor Love and Thunder. I dropped my rating of this film, though, from a 5 to a 4.5 out of 5, and would place it second in my Taika Waititi ranking, although it is still, I believe, number 6 in my MCU ranking. Now let's move on to the only film I didn't rewatch for this video, Jojo Rabbit from 2019, his Oscar-winning film for writing. A World War II satire that follows a lonely German boy whose worldview is turned upside down when he discovers his single mother is hiding a young Jewish girl in their attic. Aided only by his idiotic imaginary friend, Adolf Hitler, Jojo must confront his blind nationalism. This is available for streaming on Disney Plus and Stars in Canada, and on Fubo TV, DirecTV, and Spectrum in the US. I have seen this film 2 times, just so you know. This is, in my opinion, his best work yet. He goes a little bit less comedic in this one, although nowhere near as minuscule as his comedy in Boy, but he really hones in on the dramatic situation with these characters. Don't worry, there are still things to laugh at, but I won't get into specifics for fear of this video getting blocked by my mentioning of nautical seas. As well as, you know, it's probably better to see it for yourself, those moments. But again, the dramatic elements are really strong with this film, especially seeing some of these moments with these child actors. They are so excellent in their roles. And again, I have to mention, it's because a lot of it has to be because of the writing of this film. And I can only hope that they continue to choose good roles. Archie Yates needs a bit of a better agent, though, because Home Sweet Home Alone was not a good choice. This movie even made me enjoy Rebel Wilson's role, which I thought would be impossible since I've never enjoyed her as an actor and really don't enjoy her shtick, but somehow Taika Waititi was able to rein her in just to make her tolerable. Anyways, as I said before, was the only one I didn't rewatch for this video, mainly because I'd seen it 2 other times, and I don't think I would want to watch it a third necessarily. So my rating remains the same at 5 out of 5, and that places it on top, with Hunt for the Wilderpeople in 2nd, Thor Ragnarok in 3rd, What We Do in the Shadows 4th, Eagle vs. Shark 5th, and Boy at number 6. We'll see where Thor Love and Thunder ends up when I see it this weekend. I may even include a link to my review, or at least a rating, on Letterboxd in the description on this video, or a separate YouTube post if I'm able to do that. Even though I have the ranking with Jojo Rabbit on top, I think I would rewatch Hunt for the Wilderpeople probably more often than I would Jojo Rabbit. But I do think Jojo Rabbit is a better overall story, better overall crafted picture, so that's why it's at the top. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more from me, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any suggestions or information you'd like to share, please leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching. Peace.